We are getting some feedback, as we always do anytime we talk about cars coexisting with bikes on Colorado's roads. List of folks: Keith, Terry, Doug wrote in last night offering to add their names to a frequent complaint that it's cyclists breaking traffic laws more often than drivers. Well, you know, our Steve Steger found some scientific research on that.
Everybody's breaking the law every time they get onto the roads for the most part, including drivers.
Think about it. When you get behind the wheel of a car, do you follow this sign or do you add 5?
For a driver, when you go 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, it seems like the rational thing to do. And what we found out too is when bicyclists are sort of rolling through a stop sign, they're also doing something to them that is a rational thing to do given the transportation system that's been put in front of them.
CU civil engineering professor Wes Marshall did a survey a few years ago to see why cyclists and drivers break the law. The survey got 18,000 responses. The common perception of drivers is that if cyclists want to be taken seriously, they need to follow the rules of the road. But the survey found drivers break the law just as much, if not more.
Well, for drivers, most of them are trying to save time. Like, that's their biggest concern when they're doing a lot of the things they're doing to break the law. For bicyclists, it's almost self-preservation. Like, they're doing it often to enhance their own safety.
Marshall says the purpose of this is not to point a finger at drivers or cyclists, but the results do point a finger at infrastructure.
We've often put these people in a position where the most rational thing they can do is break the law. What we found is cities with a lot more bike infrastructure, where bicyclists sort of have their place established in the road that they're supposed to be. Like, those are the places where there were sort of fewer bicyclists breaking the law.
One of the things that Professor Marshall said surprised him, he expected to find that a certain profile existed for a scofflaw cyclist, a young man, for example. What the survey actually found was it's not necessarily the person, it's where they live. If a city has more infrastructure for bikes, cyclists there tend not to break the law as much.
Steve, as somebody who bikes a little and drives a lot, so much of this strikes me as kind of like an absolution of responsibility. Like, well, if I can just convince myself that it's cyclists breaking the law, well, then I don't really have to watch out for them, you know, because they're just kind of buzzing around or whatever else, as opposed to the idea that, trust me, they are watching out for you on a car because they don't want to die, and we in cars need to be watching out for them.
I think the thought is if a cyclist is going to roll a stop sign safely, right? There's no traffic coming or anything like that. They're not going to do something that puts themselves necessarily at risk. And the question here is why that bothers someone more than a driver going 5 miles over the speed limit, which is the same thing. It's also breaking the law.
All right. A lot to think about, and I bet you we'll get more feedback too. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.